was studying for y'all, trying to see how we can move forward as a people. I was listening to Donnell Howard, Preston Adams a little earlier, and they was talking about this stop and let go. And they was talking about Pastor Harrison, and we're pretty much calling him a sellout. This program is going to be dedicated to talking about how we handle sellouts. You ready?
This is not a test.
If you listen to this program, you're going to get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt-naked truth. This program is X-rated. You ready?
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
You are now tuned into the world's most honest talk show host, the Elder Mmoja, Ajabu.
Welcome. For those who don't know, this is Elder Mmoja Ajabu, your host for After Naked Truth. This program is dedicated to stripping the clothes off of well-dressed lies. And there's a bunch of well-dressed lies running around here. So because the truth will not have on any clothes, this program is X-rated. So if you can't handle the truth, I would suggest that you situate yourself somewhere else. Because you are listening to the most truthful talk show host in the business. Unbought, unbossed, and unafraid of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt-naked truth. What is the truth? The truth is that there are a bunch of sellouts running around here in Indianapolis and beyond. I was listening to Pastors Donnell Howard and Preston Adams, and they were speaking about this what would I call it, this initiative by the police that was being pushed by the police when they talked about stop and let go, or stop and free. In other words, what they were saying, that the police would stop somebody, arrest somebody, put them in jail, and the prosecutors would give them such a low bond that they would get out and commit a murder, or two, or three. And Pastor Adams was pushing the powers that be, the FOP, the mayor, the police chief, to come up with statistics that buttress their position that the police is doing their job. They're making the arrest, but in doing their job and making the arrest, the prosecutor is not doing his job, and they're not doing their job, because they're letting murderers right back out on the streets, and those murderers, when let back out on the street, commit more murders. And they were asking for the demographic evidence to determine that to be the truth, or that the FOP could draw that conclusion. And the response, actually, it was Charles Harrison Pastor Charles Harrison, who's over the 10-point coalition. It was actually him that was pushing this agenda. And they were saying, okay, Pastor Harrison, tell us where this is. We're against this stop and free. No, because what you're saying is you want to hold people in jail longer than what they need to be held in jail. And Danielle Hire was making the point that, look, we need to abolish jails altogether anyhow. You're talking about building this new jail when you know that right now, in the jail that exists right now, 60% of the population is males of African descent. So on its face, a jail in Indianapolis is discriminatory. So why would we push to create a new jail when we know on its face is going to discriminate against black males? And if you're talking about implementing the strategy of the police, then you know that they're going to arrest more people, and they want to keep more, basically, people of African descent that are male, keep us in the jail longer. They're saying no. And because Pastor Harrison, president of the 10-point coalition, was pushing this police agenda, they were saying that he's a sellout. What do we do with sellouts? See, I'm one to say that there's actually 3 levels of information. There's information that's just that, information. To get it to the next level, you got to verify that it is true. Once you verify that that information is true, then it moves to the next level of being knowledge. Knowledge is information that is verified to be true. And to move it to the 3rd level, which is the highest level, wisdom, you have to implement that knowledge, implement that true information. And from the implementation of that knowledge, you'll know what that knowledge can do, and then it becomes wisdom. Well, what I'm saying, that when you identify Charles Harrison or anybody else to be a sellout, that's not the deepest knowledge that you can have of this situation. Because if you look at Pastor Harrison and him promoting this agenda, he can't carry it out. In fact, he wasn't really even the one to come up with it. The one to come up with it, that's who you need to go after. That's the wisdom says don't go after Pastor Harrison, because if you go after Pastor Harrison, then that doesn't mean that you don't hold him accountable. But if you go after Pastor Harrison, you're not really going after the general. You're just going after the general's mouthpiece. The general is Rich Snyder, who is president of the Fraternal Order of Police. Don't go after Harrison. Go after the person that is controlling Harrison. That's what you do with a sellout. See, if we continue to go after their puppets, then what you got is people of African descent fighting people of African descent, and the people that are not the sellout fighting the person or the people that are the sellout who look like each other. You have black on black crime that is promoted by white folks. So white folks done engineered strange stuff, criminal stuff, diabolical stuff in the neighborhood, and instead of us going after them, we go after each other and they get a pass. Nah. What you do with a sellout is go after the person that is controlling him or controlling her. In that same thread, Greg Merriweather made the point Yeah, I call names. I'm telling you, I'm unbossed, unafraid of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt naked truth. And if you can't stand the truth, then you need to situate yourself elsewhere. I'm saying Greg Merriweather, and he made a good point. He said that Charles Harrison is not the only sellout in the city. He said that there are some elected officials who are sellouts too. And for some reason, we don't want to go after them. Well, I say that we could go after all of them. But the deal is, again, we don't need to go after them on the knowledge level. We need to go after them on the wisdom level. Because if we go after them on the wisdom level, then we don't fight each other. We fight the people that are actually controlling the sellout. That's actually giving the sellout a check. We minimize the stress and strain that we promote with each other. And see what they have done. They have appointed Randall Taylor to be the police chief, and Randall Taylor is a man of African descent. But now that creates a dichotomy in how does in his psychological self, how does he deal with the psychology of being a man of African descent and a police officer? How does he deal with being black and blue? I want to invite Chief Taylor to a conversation. I'm going to get in touch with him and have that discussion. How does a man or female of African descent, how do they square the dichotomy that is presented by them being of African descent, or being black, and them being on the police department, or being blue? How do they deal and live comfortably with the dichotomy of being black and blue? When we're talking about forums, let me say that here, and I'm going to come back to this, but I want y'all to know that we're going to have a forum, and we're calling that forum Race, Presidential Politics, and the Black Agenda. When you talk about our race, presidential politics, and the Black Agenda, this situation right here has to be discussed. This forum is going to be the 25th of January at the House of Legends, located at 6250 West 38th Street at 6 p.m. We're going to have Henry Davis, who's from South Bend, who sits on what we would call the City County Council. They call it the Common Council, and who was a mayoral candidate against Pete Buttigieg, who is now running for president. We will have Dr. Sharma Thompson, who is deals with race on the international level. She's even connected with a university over in Uganda. Sundiata Achua, who's with the University of Illinois. And our moderator will be James Patterson, who used to be with the Indianapolis Star, now co-hosts Community Connections with Tina Cosby. And James also at one time ran for City County Council. We're going to talk about how and why is it that the Democrats cannot win without the votes of people of African descent, but they don't want to come up with a specific agenda for people of African descent. They want to tell us, well, we're going to try to help all the people. Well, all the people were not enslaved. Bernie Sanders. All of the people were not being shot down in the street by police who were getting away with murder. Joe Biden. All of the people are not having an overabundance of poverty due to the impact of our enslavement in this country. Elizabeth Warren. All of us are not being impacted by the systematic racism that Pete Buttigieg implemented in South Bend. Now, don't tell me about all the people. We want an agenda specific to us as a people. We're going to discuss it. January 25th. House of Legends. 6250 West 38th Street at 6 p.m. Be there and don't be square. But the topic of the day is, what do we do with sellouts? See, I can talk to this issue from a personal position. I'm telling y'all, I'm unbought, unbossed, and unafraid. I can talk to sellouts from a personal position. All of y'all know I got a son, Kofi, who's in prison. He's in prison because he was convicted of murders that he did not commit. The Indiana Supreme Court ruled that there was no evidence that showed he took the life of anyone. But they went after him. What you don't know, and he didn't have any business being in those people's house, and he was in those people's house. And even though he was in those people's house, he did not lay a hand on anyone or treat anyone in a way that caused the very life to lose their body. He didn't do that. And the courts ruled that. But what you don't know is that whole operation was set up by a white boy. Pete Britt, who worked for that family's father, was the one that told Raymond Walls about the father being out of town. They could go in there and get some stuff. They had some stuff in there that they could go and burglarize. He set up the whole deal. But when it came time for him to be accountable, they said, no, he's a good white boy. He's still in high school. We don't want to mess up his career, his future. So the system went after the people who carried out Pete Britt's agenda. That is the same thing that is happening with Charles Harrison. We shouldn't go after Charles Harrison. We should hold him accountable. And my son should be held accountable not for the murders, but being in those people's house uninvited. Yes, he should be held accountable. but not for somebody else's killing of people. See, if we do that, then we at each other. Go after the people that coordinated the damn thing. Not Harrison. And this is what they do. They sit back and they manipulate us and they make us think that we are against us, and we go with the knowledge of the person that carries it out and don't look at the wisdom of going after the person who coordinated the damn thing anyhow. I mean, even when you talk about my son, they haven't stopped. They sent a black man in his cell. And that black man pulled my son out of his bunk. My son is in the top bunk, pulled him out, feet first. He hit his head, damn near knocked out. Came to his senses and defended himself. Police come and put pepper spray on everybody. And then asked my son, well, did he try to put something around your neck? What? That sounds like that the police coordinated all that. And so the police was looking for us to go after the celly that carried out the action, but no. That would have been a black on black fight. Now go after the person that coordinated it. Go after the white boy that coordinated it. Go after the white boy that made the black man a sellout. We've got to start moving on the level of wisdom and understand the facts, which is the knowledge, but understand the wisdom, which is how we solve the problem. See, they've done this, on so many levels. Even when you look at the death of Malcolm X, I'm telling y'all, I'm unbossed, and unafraid of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt-naked truth. This program is X-rated. I'm going to strip the clothes off of these well-dressed lies. When you look at the murder of Malcolm X, the powers that be got some sellouts who look like Malcolm, who looks like you, who look like me, to carry out the murder. And so our brothers who loved Malcolm, I'm one of them, who loved him dearly, who would take a life for my brother. We decided to try to go after the Nation of Islam because they put a Nation of Islam hat on Malcolm's murderers, even though that there was two of them that was not in the nation, and those two were the two that actually carried out the murder, even though that they were masquerading as being members of the Nation of Islam. And Minister Farrakhan has admitted that he helped to create the environment that caused the death of Malcolm, even though he is emphatically clear he had nothing to do with the planning. He didn't call no shot. He wasn't around anybody where that was being spoken of, because he wasn't at the police scene. He wasn't with the FBI. The FBI carried it out. But the brothers and sisters who loved Malcolm and who saw that it was members affiliated, looked like affiliated with the Nation of Islam, they put the responsibility at his feet. And there's still acrimony today. And I'm telling you, we should not be fighting one another when we find those sellouts, Don't go after the sellout. Yeah, hold the sellout accountable. But go after the cat that's got the check. Go after the white boy who's actually the general and who is actually calling the shot. Let's go after him. And hold the sellout accountable. But when it comes time to take a culprit to task, go after the white boy that called the shot. Are y'all listening to me? I'm the most truthful talk show host in the business, unbossed, and unafraid. We've got even more situations to where a white boy has manipulated black people, sellouts, to cause the demise of our liberators and cause us to fight each other when in actuality we should be unified and fighting him. That's what happened at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, when Bunchy Carter and John Hutton lost their lives back in 1969. That's January 17th. That's coming up here next week. Maulana Karinga and the US organization took out Bunchy and John, sellouts. But they did not call the shot. The police called the shot. And the police called the shot and caused stress and strain that exists to this very day. We've got to quit moving on the knowledge realm and start moving on the wisdom realm, to where is that we quit killing one another, harming one another, when it was the white boy that actually set up the whole thing. We need to start going after him. We need to hold him accountable. We need to let him know, no mas, no more. That's the reason why you see in the black community, the community of people of African descent, that the murder rate is high, that we killing each other, is because someone outside our community is manipulating things within our community. And instead of us going after the manipulator, we're going after each other, and it's costing us our lives. Marshawn Woolley, good man, put up a post on Facebook concerning the hundreds of deaths that we have carried out against each other. See, when you talk about murder in our community, there's basically two reasons that people is killing people. One, crime of passion. Two, money. Crime of passion, you disrespected me, you done me wrong some. Very few of those are going on. Some, but very few. Overwhelmingly, the number of murders that are going on in our community is about that dollar. And the responsibility of that should be placed at the feet Mayor Joe Hawk said, Ajabu, what did you just say? I just told you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt naked truth. I'm stripping the clothes off of these well-dressed lives. Why do I say that the responsibility of the murders among people of African descent in our community should be set at the doorstep, at the feet of Mayor Hogsett and also the City County Council? This is why I say that. There is a city ordinance. An ordinance is law that states that the city of Indianapolis must do at least 15% of its business with businesses owned by people of African descent. The city at best is doing about 6%. If the city, the mayor, followed the law, and the city county council made the mayor follow the law, that additional revenue coming through the communities of African descent would be your crime prevention program. I bet you murder would decrease considerably, because now people would not be fighting about how to get some money. They'd be fighting about how to spend some money. And it's a much better argument, and it's an argument that does not deteriorate into the death of the people discussing how to spend some money. Yeah. Don't go after the people that are fighting one another. Hold the sellouts responsible. Who is the sellout? The sellouts are the people on the city county council. There's so many blacks on the city county council that they can control the city county council. They can make sure that the mayor gets nothing passed through the council if he does not honor the law and start doing at least 15% of the city's business with businesses owned by people of African descent. That is your crime prevention program. And if the brothers and sisters on the city county council do not hold the mayor accountable, then you're looking at your sellouts. Them are the people that Greg Merriweather is speaking of. Do we go and we start fighting them? No. We hold them accountable. I'm telling you how to handle sellouts. Do we fight the mayor? Yes. He's ultimately responsible for doing the business. I done told you. You're listening to the most truthful talk show host in the business. Unbought, unbossed, unafraid of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt naked truth. I got you. Don't forget, January 25th, 6 o'clock, House of Legend, 6250 West 38th Street. We're going to talk about it. We're going to be about it. And we are not going to stop until we get the money that we are due. Y'all know I have one pressing question. You ready?
This is not a test.
If you listen to this program, you're going to get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt-naked truth. This program is X-rated.
You ready? You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
You are now tuned into the world's most honest talk show host, the Elder Mmoja. Ajabu.